Bueno, primero, muchachos, vamos a hablar del verbo gustar. Es posible que ya hemos visto este verbo en acción en el pasado, pero vamos a repasar lo que significa y cómo lo usamos. Okay, so the first verb we're going to use is gustar. Okay, this is our first, what we call a taste verb. Now, we're not talking about taste as in food, although it is a verb that we might use if we talk about liking food, but that's what it means, right? This is the best way in Spanish that we can talk about things that we like. Now, something that's going to be interesting with this verb, it does not mean to like literally. And so that's something that we're going to make sure we practice because it can get confusing when we try to translate this verb literally. And we're going to see maybe some of the things, the mistakes that we might make so that we can avoid those as we go forward. Now, when we talk about liking, this is the way we're going to do it. I'll give you the example. Okay. Let's say, for example, I want to say that I like baseball. Okay, which is true. Okay, so we say, me gusta el béisbol. Now, notice we don't have yo in here. Okay, that's where we get that difference. We're not saying I like baseball. We're saying just the opposite. We say baseball is pleasing to me. Okay, so that's where it's a little different. Instead of to like, a better translation literally is to please. Okay, and so that's something we're going to see. Now, where that comes up when we talk about things that are plural. Okay, so this is one example, but we can obviously talk about things that we like that are plural. Like, for example, if we're going to follow that same pattern of sports, I can say I like sports, right, in general. So I could say, me gusta los deportes, right? That would, in our minds in English, that might make sense, right? We're saying I like sports or sports please me. But remember, when we conjugate a verb, we're conjugating the subject, in this case, los deportes, and we need to change the form. So we can probably think about it for a second. If the singular is gusta, and this is a regular AR verb, okay, if we make it plural, how do we do that? Okay, so instead of me gusta, we're going to say me gustan. Okay, me gustan los deportes. So that goes for any of the examples that we're going to see where we're talking about something we like that is singular or it's plural. Okay. Now, if you want to talk about an action, because that's something we can say, I like to play baseball, right? There's another example where we're using a verb afterwards. Now, that becomes almost an infinitive expression. So remember our rule with infinitive expressions. Okay. Do we conjugate the first verb? Yes. Do we conjugate the second? No. That's where we leave that in the infinitive. So I'll give you an example here. So let's say we'll use that example. Okay. I like to play baseball. So we say, me gusta. ¿Cómo se dice to play? Jugar. I'm doing this like Dora the Explorer, right? I'm listening for an answer that's not really coming. Me gusta jugar baseball. Okay. Now, here's the rule when we're using an action, as in this case, like an infinitive expression. Remember, we conjugate the first, we leave the second in the infinitive. Now, the question is, do we use singular or plural? In this case, if we're using as an infinitive expression, notice right here, is it singular or is it plural? It's singular, right? So it's me gusta. So if we are using gustar to talk about an action, I like to do something, then we're going to leave that in the singular form. Okay. If you have any questions about how we use gustar, this of the three verbs that we learned today is probably the most confusing because it differs from how we talk about it in English. The other two don't. Okay. So if you have questions, make sure you ask those questions as we go forward. Gracias, muchachos.